Get it by a beer in the neighborhood. Call Joe Murray.
I happen to trust Joe Murray.
First time I ever met Joe Murray was at a...
Welcome into the night show. No Joe Murray tonight on this Memorial Day Monday as we wrap up the weekend. It's Alex Barth with you for the next 3 hours here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. We'll take you up until 10 o'clock tonight, and we got a fun show for you. Christopher Smith will join us to talk Red Sox coming up at 7:20. And boy, is there a lot to talk about. We will have Evan Lazar in studio at 8 o'clock. We'll get to some, obviously, Patriots talk with him. I also need to talk NBA playoffs with Evan, believe it or not. We'll get to that. But I do want to start with the Boston Red Sox. And I want to start, if you'll allow me, George Sepulveda behind glass tonight, if you'll allow me to start with a rewind. And I want to go back to where we were in mid-late March. And was everything perfect in Red Sox world at that point? No, it was not. Team had too many left-handed hitters. We didn't know what was going to happen with the prospects. There was the beef with Rafael Devers. But overall, there was some optimism. There was some actual optimism for a team that hadn't had that in quite a while. Even that 2021 team that made that deep playoff run, that was sort of a surprise. I mean, they had been decent a few years before, but like this was the first time we were coming off of a real offseason for the Red Sox, where they actually went out and made moves. They invested in multiple MLB caliber starting pitchers, which they needed. The arrival of Alex Bregman, that was just a few days before, or a few days into, I think, spring training was a big moment. And there was juice. And the common thought among Red Sox fans, and I was guilty of this, hand up, was that, hey, like, I'm actually kind of excited about this team. I don't know that they're going to be great. I don't know if they're going to win the World Series, but we should have a baseball season this year. That was the thought, and I'll admit I was a part of that, and a lot of you out there listening probably felt the same way. I know you did. I listened to the station. I heard the calls. I took some of the calls. Now we get to today. Memorial Day weekend, as you've heard quite a bit today on this station, a logical check-in point on the baseball calendar. And if you had told me back in April we were going to be doing a ton of Red Sox talk Memorial Day weekend, first I would have asked what happened to the Celtics. And we will get into that later in the program, but that would have been my first question. My second question would have been, all right, good. There's a baseball team. They're giving us something to talk about. Yet they continue to be the most aggressively 500 team I have, any sport that I remember following. They are, again, the term I use, aggressively 500. They are in your face with how 500 they are. Pull up any split over any length of time. This is a 500 baseball team. Now, it doesn't help my argument that they're 27-29 right now after they lost today, and we'll get to today's game. But everything about them just oozes being 500.
Losers of 3 straight, and to be fair, 5-5 in their last 10.
5-5 in their last 10. Somebody puts out that graphic on Twitter, the record update on Twitter every time, where I think there's like 8 points, 9 points this season where they've been 500. I have a joke with my friends in the group chat that started a few years ago about it being 500 day when the Red Sox have a chance to go to 500. And it started as this thing a few years ago with like, would they actually get back to 500? And now we do it every other day. They're a perpetually 500 team, which leads me to the big question I have tonight about the Boston Red Sox. If you want to answer it, 617-779-0985. We can get to the game today. There's certainly a lot to talk about from the game today. I thought Matt McCarthy, Jimmy Stewart did a great job of breaking it down in the baseball hour, some of the lineup decisions, some of the pitching decisions. But my big question about the Red Sox as things stand right now, are you worried about the urgency that this team has shown or not shown? Are you worried about how this team lacks urgency? And I think that's true at multiple levels. You start with the fact that the last few years, not just this year, the last few years, the ascension of this team has been based on the big three prospects, Christian Campbell, Marcelo Maye, Roman Anthony, and they're taking their sweet time to get them up. I understand there's contract things and all of that. When you put as much of those on those guys as you have, it kind of implies that you're looking beyond the contracts when you want those guys to be the face of the franchise. Maye is now up, needed an injury to make that happen. We'll see what happens with Roman Anthony. You look at the managerial level. I think on a day-to-day, it really starts with the manager. It starts with Alex Cora, the lack of urgency. The Have they gone as in depth as they could in forming these lineups without Alex Bregman? I know that it's tough. They don't have the right-handed bats. It's not going to be perfect. As the guys 2 to 6 did a great job of explaining, hitting Carlos Navarez third simply because he's a right-handed hitter is probably not the answer, especially if you're going to keep those top two. Steve Peralt on Twitter earlier today, the Red Sox number 3 hitter in their last 3 games is 1 for 10. 1 for 10, just plugging guys into that spot. That's Abreu twice, Weiler Abreu twice, and then Navarez today. They are 6-14 in one-run games. Lack of urgency. The only other times for Mike Monaco, the only other times they've lost 14 or more one-run games through their first 56. 1906, 1930, 1966. Generational lack of ability in one-run games from the Boston Red Sox to start the season. And then from the players, you just watch the way they went about it today. Guys grounding into double plays in big spots. You can't get the ball in the air. Left 10 runners on base. 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. I think it was the second and third inning, if I remember correctly. The Red Sox had 2 runners on with less than 2 outs. Yeah, it was the second and third. 2 runners on with less than 2 outs. They didn't score either time. Second ended with a pop out by Trevor Story and a ground out by Abraham Toro. And then you had Navarez strike out and a Campbell ground out to end the third. It just all, to me, looks like a lack of urgency. And that's what I can't help but see when I watch the Boston Red Sox. That's not to say that's their only problem. That's not to say that's a new problem. But again, this is that logical check-in point of what is the team? 2 months into the season, Memorial Day weekend, it's really the start of summer. You know, the Celtics are done. The NBA and NHL playoffs are wrapping up. They should be taking the center stage. And where do we find them? Just going through the motions. 500 baseball. I will disagree with something a lot of people have said about this team, though, today. Because part of the check-in is, all right, like, are they going to have a season? Are we going to have a baseball season this summer? Are we going to have something to follow? And a lot of people have said no and written them off and, well, they can't turn the corner. They don't have the pieces. And I don't think that part necessarily is wrong. I think they could. They'd have to get very aggressive with some roster moves. I think they could. But my bigger thing with it is because of this new stupid playoff format with the third wild card team, you're in the mix at 500. The Red Sox at 2 games under are 2.5 out as we sit here today. So for as frustrating as they've been, I think we're going to have a baseball summer. I think they're going to be in it. It's going to be a fake playoff race. And, they'll be the equivalent of an 8 seed in the NBA and they'll get their doors blown off in the first round. Maybe they won't because the American League as a whole isn't very good, but they're not going anywhere. But for everything I just said about the Red Sox, for everything I just said, I think we're going to be following this team all summer, and I think they're going to be in the mix. It might be a little fool's gold, but here we are, eternally 500, and they're only 2.5 games out of a playoff spot. In the teams between them and the Astros, Kansas City, that's a good young team, but it's a young team. Who knows where they'll go? I'm not a big believer in Tampa. Toronto has certainly had its issues this year, especially offensively. It all kind of it doesn't feel impossible. It should. It should. I felt like I was nuts when I was looking this up earlier. But the Red Sox, through 2 months, are right in the mix for a playoff spot. Are they going to win the division? Probably not. But because you have this stupid... Baseball had a great playoff format because it was the old NFL format. 6 teams, 2 byes, yada, yada, yada. Great format. Excellent. I love it. And look, the one-game playoff games are fun. It's the extra wild card team. I think I said 7 before. 6. The extra wild card team is too many because there's too many games in baseball. There's too many teams that hover right around 500, especially in this American League that's relatively weak. So just for reference, Red Sox are 2.5 out in the AL. They would be, if I'm seeing this correctly, they would be, I think, rough math. I'm not good at math. Don't want to do it on the air. They'd be about 8 out in the National League. And then we'd be putting a bow on it. But they're 2.5 games out.
That is more of a truer story, yes. In the National League, it looks like all teams are above 500, including the St. Louis Cardinals, who are a half game out at 6 games above 500.
Yeah, they only have a couple. Now, they have some really bad teams in the National League. The Colorado Rockies, the league might need to step in there. But, the Red Sox are, and as the replay's up here, can't even get. Did you see the scoreboard today in the first inning? Did you see that?
No, what happened?
Look, if you look on the TV right now, it's like stretched. It was stretched out. I just saw it in the corner of my eye. That was probably the most entertaining part of the game. That's actually not true. That's not the most entertaining part of the game. Garrett Crochet was the most entertaining part of the game, and I want to get to that. But it just they're still in it, and if they show some urgency, if they play like they're still in it, they might make a run. But at this point, I just don't know what's going to happen to show some urgency. This should have been a fun weekend. This should have been like a great welcome to Red Sox summer weekend. 13-run inning to start things off against Baltimore. Maye comes up. You play a bad Orioles team. A chance to kind of run it up, get that momentum. The kids in the lineup, 2/3 of the big three are here. Garrett Crochet starting, day game on Monday. And instead, we're kind of putting a bow on the season. A lot of people are, maybe wrongly, because of everybody else, but we're kind of putting a bow on the season. And you know how I know that this team might not be able to turn a corner? So, this is Garrett Crochet's 12th start of the year. They are 6-6 in his starts. All right, he's doing okay then. In 12 starts, he has a 2.04 ERA, a whip just over 1 with 89 strikeouts in 75 innings. He has been excellent. And watching him today, and this is probably the closest I've gotten to watch him, at least since his first or second start of the year, he's freaking awesome.
As advertised.
The way he just attacks hitters. Not only is he a good pitcher, he pitches the way I like watching pitchers pitch. And he hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs in a game since April 24th. It's the only time he's allowed more than 2 earned runs in a game. He's been awesome in their 6-6. Imagine if they didn't have this guy in the rotation, it probably would be over. It probably would be over at this point. But they're hanging on. They're in the mix. Maybe, just maybe, Marcelo Mayer, who had himself another, nice game today, gets some juice going for them. Let's find out. We'll talk to Christopher Smith of Mass Live next. Plus your call, 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth on the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. the night.
I actually spoke with women today.
On the Sports Hub.
Bases loaded. 2 out, 2-2 on Connor Wong. And here it comes from McGill. Swinging a high pop-up. Into right, Frelick underneath it. And that will do it. McGill hangs on by a thread. Red Sox make it fascinating in the end, but they fall for the third consecutive time. They lose on this Memorial Day 3-2.
And that run you gave up in the eighth now really coming back to bite you, right? Offense woke up a little bit there in the ninth, but you got to get it going. You got to put some runs up on the board here to break what you got going on here lately.
The final call today is the Red Sox fall to the Milwaukee Brewers 3-2. They fall to 27-29 on the year. And we're checking in with them, the Memorial Day check-in. As we do, we'll be joined by Christopher Smith. He covers the Red Sox for Mass Live. You can follow him on social media at Smitty on MLB. Chris, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Good. Let's get it out of the way. The traditional check-in and your thought on the state of the Red Sox at Memorial Day, and specifically, do you have any concern about the urgency the team has shown this far into the season?
Yeah, I definitely do. Look at they finished last year at 500. They've been at 500 pretty much basically a 500 baseball team since 2019, where, except for that 2021 playoff run, 500 or below. They continue to play bad at Fenway Park. They're 2 games over 500 at Fenway Park since the start of 2019. I mean, when you look at the best Red Sox teams in history, they use that park as a major advantage. The comments by, Alex Cora yesterday, got what we deserve, that type of thing. We played, when the pitching, when the pitchers pitched, the hitters didn't hit. When the hitters hit, the pitchers didn't pitch. I mean, they need to figure it out. I mean, they've got some issues right now. Like, somebody was texting me earlier about, this team. I was like, they've got issues. Their offense their lineup is terrible right now without Alex Bregman. They need to figure that out. They need to figure out the starting. I mean, the starting rotation is not good right now. I mean, they on that homestand, they had 10 games on that homestand. Only 4 of those games did a pitcher go. Did he make it to the 5th through 5? And so that's taxed the bullpen. The bullpen's overused, and this is just not good. I mean, there's not a lot of urgency, and I think that they need to. I mean, I wrote it before this season. It's unacceptable if they don't make the playoffs this year, because they had not missed the playoffs in 3 consecutive years under this ownership, and this could be 4 years now. I mean, it's unacceptable, and they need some urgency.
So, of those issues, and I think you did a good job of painting the picture. It's a pretty wide stroke.
I didn't need to go over everything, but
yeah, all right. Well, the guy they brought in to be the backup catcher is kind of hitting, so you have that, even if they pinch hit for him wrong. But other than that, right, peachy. But how much of that? I guess this is kind of the crossroads a lot of people are at, especially with what looked like at the time a decent offseason. It wasn't revolutionary, but they made some legitimate targeted additions. How much of what's wrong right now is fixable, either through guys getting healthy or maybe strategic changes, things like that, a change in approach, a change in viewpoint from the manager, from the players, and how much of it is just this is their bed, they have to lay in it, whether it be overall philosophical approach they're not going to change or just roster construction issues?
Yeah, so when you look at the offense, I think they're like 5th in runs scored or something, and yeah, they're 5th in runs scored in Major League Baseball. And it's like, well, they must be having a good year offensively. No, they have games like the other day where they scored 19 runs, against the Baltimore Orioles, and then they come back, and over the past 3 games, they've scored 4 runs total in those 3 games. And so they have had some really big blowouts. Like they had 2 earlier against St. Louis, where they scored a ton of runs. And so their offense hasn't been as good as, it looks on paper. I mean, they're taking advantage of, a lot of these runs have come through, games like that, like that we saw on Friday with the 19 runs, and they're just struggling otherwise. So I think that I think that Craig Breslow put together a pretty good team, like a team that should make the postseason. However, the bats, even with Bregman in the lineup, and Bregman was having, a top 5 MVP type finish year before he got injured. Even with that bat in the lineup, things weren't going that great offensively. And so now you take that bat out of the lineup, and they're in real trouble. I wrote on Twitter today, like, I think that, or X, whatever you call it, I think that they need to, that's a huge right-handed bat. And they were looking for, in this offseason, they were looking for one right-handed bat, and they got it. And I had always said they should go out and get 2 right-handed bats, because they thought, like, Vaughn Grissom, was a right-handed hitter, or, they thought Cedar Rafaela, like, he was decent against, right-handers last year. He struggled against lefty. So they thought all these guys were going to make some improvement, and they have not. Trevor Story's been a total disaster. They thought they were going to get right-handed hitting production out of him. So the way to fix this, I guess, to summarize, the way to fix this right now, what I would do if I was Craig Breslow, I would go out and trade for a legitimate first baseman, guy that is a proven right-handed hitter, and that obviously adds a right-handed bat to the lineup that they do not have right now without Alex Bregman, and a threat in the middle of the order that they don't have without Alex Bregman, because Carlos Narvaez is batting 3rd and 4th in their lineup the past few days. I mean he's good and everything, but if you told us before the season that he was going to be your number 3 and 4 hitter on whatever it is, May, whatever it is today, that's not acceptable. And so I would do that. And then I would also bring up Roman Anthony. He's the number 1 prospect in baseball. I've watched these prospects a lot. I think he has a lot more talent than Marcelo and Christian Campbell. I mean, this is a guy that's a generational type talent, I feel. And you should not rely on rookies to carry your team. They cannot promote Marcelo and they cannot promote Roman and think that they're going to carry the lineup here. But if there's any rookie that has the potential to, have an impact on this lineup and help the struggling lineup right now, it is Roman Anthony. If you look at his walk rate, down in Worcester, he has more walks than strikeouts. Even when you slump, as a player like that, even when you slump, he's still going to walk. So I think he'll be very effective from the beginning, because he'll take his walks. And even if he's slumping, he will still have the on-base percentage and just the exit velocity. 160 miles per hour off the bat twice this year already. He's done it 3 times over the past 2 years. I mean, he just hits the ball hard. All the stats that you look at, like the advanced numbers that you can get, like on Baseball Savant for the major league players, if you were to look at them on the minor league side, he's like right at the top of all AAA players. He's 21 years old. I mean, he's the stud. I don't know why he's not up yet. They need to bring him up, and they need to take Story out of the lineup. And if that means moving Rafaela, who's, suspect, he's too not great, but he's a little better offensively than Story. If that means moving him to shortstop, putting Duran in center field, and putting Roman in left field, then do it. They need him up, and they need a right-handed. They need to go out and get a bat right now.
We're talking to Christopher Smith, Red Sox reporter, Mass Live. You mentioned Roman Anthony, the last of the big 3 to be brought up. Marcelo Maye just came up. You said rookies can't carry the lineup, and I think, like, on paper, I agree with you. You don't want to count on rookies to be your best players, but I think guys like this that have this kind of juice, that were in the minors with a lot of guys who will be their teammates, it can add some juice. It can add some motivation. It can give you a kick in the pants, for lack of a better term. So what have you thought of Marcelo Maye on his own through his first couple major league games? Do you think he can add some of that juice? And if he does, do you think it puts even more pressure on the organization? Look, you said Roman Anthony should be up. I agree with you. He should. He's not. They clearly don't want him up yet. But if Marcelo Maye proves to be some kind of spark plug, does it put even more pressure on Craig Breslow and the organization to get Roman Anthony up sooner rather than later?
It does. But when you look at like baseball now, like becoming of rookie, like, transitioning into the league as a 21, 22, 23-year-old, any rookie right now, no matter the age, it's so much more difficult than it was 10 years ago. And that's just because, you've got Aroldis Chapman is throwing 104 miles per hour. And, there's guys, the velocity nowadays is insane. And the fastball velocity is insane. And the movement on these pitches, the addition of sweeper and all that. It's hard. The level between AAA and the level of talent between AAA and the majors right now is just extremely further than it's ever been. And so it's extremely difficult for these guys to come up and to produce. We've seen some regression, obviously, from Christian Campbell. The league figured him out a little bit. They you learn how to pitch to guys, and then you have to figure it out how to go back at the pitchers. We've seen this with a lot of guys. Jackson Holliday, ton of talent, was just horrendous when he came up last year for the Orioles. He was the number one prospect in baseball. So that's why I say you can't rely on these guys. But of anyone that can do it, I think it's Roman Anthony. I've seen enough of this kid. He's the real deal. I think that Marcelo will be, good, and I think that he will hit, but there are going to be slumps for him. As we saw, I actually thought Christian Campbell was going to slump right out of the gate. He did not. He had a great April. He was the AL Rookie of the Year, and then he started slumping in May. And so there's always going to be, that's why, it's funny, like Tristan Casas was talking to me like last year, and he was talking about all these guys eventually coming up, and he said, he put a lot of pressure on himself as the rookie, as a guy that needs to carry the lineup or whatever. And you can't do that as a rookie. You have to have the other guys, the veterans, carry the lineup. And that's where, it's horrible to have Alex Bregman missing, because those are the guys that need to carry the load. And Devers has been awesome, hitting wise this year. Not sure about his attitude, but in terms of just refusing to play first and all that, But as a hitter, he's been awesome. And so you need to rely on those guys. And like with Christian Campbell today, batting fourth. He's been you can't rely on that. You need him batting eighth or ninth right now. And so that's the problem right now, is that without Bregman and some of these guys, that's an issue. And so they need to look at all this stuff. And I don't know why Roman isn't up yet. It's really interesting because it's not about your top prospect shouldn't break the majors because of a spot opening, like because of an injury and stuff like that. They should be able to force their way into the conversation, force their way up. Anthony's done that. He's got almost 1,000 OPS in Worcester, and they still have not brought him up, which is baffling to me.
He is Christopher Smith. He covers the Red Sox for Mass Live. You can also check him out on social media, Smitty on MLB. Chris, thanks for taking some time out of the holiday tonight to talk to us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, more Red Sox talk next. First, though, quick check of the headlines here. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Red Sox dropped their first game of this week's series against the Milwaukee Brewers this afternoon.
We call them the Joe Murray pre-party. It's Felger and Maz afternoons right now. Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
As far as runners in scoring position over the past 3 games, do you get the sense that guys might be pressing a little bit, just trying to make up for the loss of Bregman? Obviously, that's a big hit to the lineup.
I think you're still going to get at bats either with Alex on the line or not, right? And it's just one of those trends right now that we're not producing, but hopefully we keep the line moving and we're going to score, sooner rather.
Talk as much about Alex Cora in that first segment, George. It's Alex Barth, by the way, in for Joe Murray tonight. Thanks to Christopher Smith, who just joined us. If you missed any of it, the show is on YouTube. We are live streaming on YouTube, and it will stay there after the show, so you can go back and listen or watch or whatever. You do have to see me. That is the downside to that. But you can catch up on anything you missed.
Thanks for radio.
That opening thing where we talked about to the Red Sox lack urgency and all that, and I stand by everything I said. I did want to get more into Cora when I talked about that. In my mind, there's just an implied, and maybe this is how I think. I shouldn't assume people know. I think this way, like when you're talking about the mentality, when you're talking about the mettle of a team, are they mentally in the right spot? Are they motivated by the right things? Are they, approaching things the right way? That comes back ultimately to the coach or manager, who really collectively the coaching staff. We'll call it the head coach or manager because the buck stops with them. If the Red Sox are showing a lack of urgency, it's in part due to Alex Cora. And I think you're seeing that in some of his lineup decisions. I think you're seeing that in some of the ways that he manages the game. So it is. I didn't mean to skip over Cora at the beginning. I think it all stems from him. And I think there are things that he can change. And Matt McCarthy and Jimmy Stewart talked about this earlier, and they were right. This is not like the Alex Cora I'm watching right now. I was a big fan of Alex Cora's for a long time. I still am not totally anti-Alex Cora overall. But Alex Cora circa 2018, even circa 2021, 2022, does not do some of the things that he has done this last year and a half. His approach seems to have changed. And whether that's he's become resigned and checked out, whether that's he wins the World Series in 18. He gets suspended, but he's able to come back to the same job in 21 and then goes to the ALCS. Is there a cockiness that comes with it where he's gotten too comfortable? We've seen that from coaches before. We've seen that from coaches in this city before. There's another coach in this city right now who fits that description. I don't know what's going on with him, but this isn't who he's always been. Maybe it's him having a closer relationship with the players. The Rafael Devers thing certainly is weird. And I'm not entirely anti-Rafael Devers in this.
I co-sign that.
And I've given this speech before that Rafael Devers could handle this so much better. He could. But the Red Sox created this situation. There are numerous checkpoints where they made the wrong call, whether it was not trading Tristan Casas like they wanted to this winter, whether it was the way in which they approached Devers about moving a designated hitter. They could have moved Devers to first in the spring, and we're not worried about any of this.
I played third.
Right. They made it standoffish. They made it argumentative. It didn't have to be. At least not to this extent. I'm not saying if they'd said it a different way, he would have loved the idea. But I think that the fact they talked in such absolutes, at least based on what's been reported throughout the process, I get why Rafael Devers is frustrated. He looks around, he sees stars around the league that are not treated the way he's treated. And the Red Sox have a long history of dinking around with their star players. Usually it ends with the player leaving town because they're dinking around on contract negotiations. This goes back to John Lester. Now, Devers is still here, so the context is a little different. I get why Rafael Devers is annoyed. He could absolutely handle it better. And that's not to say he's not in the wrong here either. But the Red Sox created the situation, I think, in which Rafael Devers has been acting this way. Let's go to your phones. You want to call in, talk Red Sox, 617-779-0985. We'll start with Joe in Newton on the coaching staff. Joe.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys. First time, long time. Listen, I get the Cora frustration. I really do. I'm right in line with you, but I got to talk about Pete Fatsi. He's the hitting coach. And listen, I'm not going to act like I'm some hitting technique expert. I'm not. But we adopted this drive line technology with Kyle Bodie, and I just want to know where the results are, because Casas has done nothing but go downward since his hot start. Trevor Story has not produced. And I'm worried about these young guys now, because you're putting Christian Campbell, you're putting Marcelo Mayer, eventually Roman Anthony, into this system, and they're building bad habits, and they're being told to swing the bat as hard as they can. And the hitting coach needs to be held accountable as much as Cora has been in this city, and I haven't heard anybody talk about it. It's just very frustrating. My second take is, why has nobody talked about moving Duran to DH if we ever do get that first base filler to make room for Anthony? Because he's the worst defender between Rafaela and Willier in that outfield. I love the guy. He's the heart and soul of the team. But if we're going to make room for Roman Anthony, putting Rafaela at shortstop, which I've heard a lot of, is not the answer. You're just killing his value if you do that. So Duran to DH, and let's put a microscope on Pete Fatsi and whatever the hell he's got going on with Driveline, because these young guys that are coming up into the system, we're not seeing the hitting results, and it's getting very frustrating.
Thanks for the call. Oh, sorry to cut you off there. Thanks for the call, Joe. Appreciate you calling in for the first time. That's all, now you've done it. You got the bug. I'm sure you'll be back, even though I hung up on you a little early, again by accident. I'm sorry. Second thing first, Duran and DH, it makes some sense. It's just, you can make an argument for it, and Joe kind of did there. I think that you can make stronger arguments for a number of guys before him. Devers, Yoshida, if he comes back, there's probably going to be a case for Bregman to DH to get him back sooner, where he doesn't have to play the field, and maybe that gets him back in the lineup earlier. So, it makes sense in a bubble, but I just think there's other guys that need to be in that spot more. As for the hitting coach thing, when at least for me personally, like when I talk about a coach that carries the umbrella of the staff. So Pete Fatsi, the hitting coach, like, fair call out. And you know what it is? It's the nerds. It's the nerds. And there was that whole thing about Jim Rice getting in the blow up with somebody. I don't remember the entire story. Jim Rice got in a blow up with somebody in spring training about the way they're telling these kids to hit. And Marcelo Mayer's hit today, his first at bat, gets a pitch on the inside, fights it off the hands, just kind of knocks it down the line. Great piece of hitting. Eked out a single, really like a professional at bat. That was the kind of thing I'm encouraged. The nerds don't want singles. They look at that and say, no, either hit a home run or it's the 3 true outcomes, right? Home run, strikeout, walk. Don't put the ball in play. It kills me. I don't think it's just a Red Sox thing. I know it's not just a Red Sox thing, but it kills me. But the player development, we have seen guys kind of stagnate once they've gotten up. Even Christian Campbell right now.
Sox are averaging 8.95 whiffs per game, which makes them reverse standings 1, 2, 3, 5th to last place, 26th in the MLB.
So, as in the most or the fewest whiffs?
As in the most.
The most. I think it'd be. Was it 9 whiffs a game? I guess that's a lot.
Yeah.
Especially because people don't really swing the bat anymore. It's a fair concern, and when you have these top prospects coming up, your player development is a concern. It should be a concern. It's always a concern. Let's get one more call in here before the break. Justin in Lynn on Alex Cora.
Hi.
Hey, Justin.
It's Justin. I wanted to talk about the Red Sox not striking out a lot. They're not putting the ball in play, and when they do, they hit to double plays, and that to me is the biggest issue with this team right now. They're not making contact, putting the ball in play, and when they do, they lose the game. It's unbelievably frustrating to watch.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Justin. That thing about putting the ball in play, there were a couple instances today where they had a chance to play some small ball and make a play. They hit into 2 inning double plays today, 1 in the 7th and 1 in the 8th. In back-to-back innings, they hit into inning double plays.
10 runners left on base.
10 runners left in base on total, and that doesn't include the guy that gets out on the front end of the double play, I don't believe. So it's a frustrating approach at the plate. It's a frustrating approach at the plate. It absolutely is. One of many things that's frustrating about this team, especially because, like some other things, they probably could make an adjustment. I don't think it's not an outright lack of talent. That's part of it, but that's not the only thing. There are some things I think that they could certainly change to tweak the approach. So if you want to keep calling in about the Red Sox, 617-779-0985. It is the Joe Show, though. So we got to do in or out. We'll do that next here on the Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. More Joe. Everybody knows Joe.
Just keeps getting better.
Joe Murray on 98.5.
Coming up later in the 8 o'clock hour, but up next, we're going to talk some Patriots. I'm in. And Evan Lazar is going to join us in studio for some Pats talk. 90 seconds, no commercials, just the headlines. And we're right back to it here on The Joe Show.
From the Top Tier Time Studios, WBC FM and HD1.
It's not just the games. It's Toucher and Hardy, Zolak and Bertrand, Felger and Maz, Joe Murray. For Boston sports fans, it's 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Beasley Media Group Station.
Essential Sports Hub headline, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Red Sox dropped their first game of this week's series against the Milwaukee Brewers this afternoon, losing 3-2. Garrett Crochet took the loss despite allowing just 5 hits with 11 strikeouts in 6 2/3 innings. The Sox are back at it tomorrow. The Western Conference Finals in the NBA continue tonight. The Timberwolves will try to even up their series with the Oklahoma City Thunder in Minneapolis in Game 4. 8:30 tip for that one. Coming up here momentarily is Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals in the NHL. The Florida Panthers can end things tonight. They're at home up 3-0 on the Carolina Hurricanes. Down at Gillette Stadium this afternoon, Cornell knocked off Maryland 13-10 to win the Division I Men's National Lacrosse Championship. North Carolina beat Northwestern yesterday to win the women's title down in Foxborough. And the seeding and regionals for the College World Series were announced. Vanderbilt has the number 1 overall seed. Some local teams in the tournament. Northeastern is a 2 seed in the Florida State Regional. Rhode Island is a 3 seed in the LSU Regional. And Holy Cross is a 4 seed in the UNC Regional. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
No matter where you go, you're always connected to Boston sports with the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Download it wherever you get your apps today. Felger and Maz are just his pregame.
They've been getting wholesale deals for years.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
We just want to be good enough to take advantage of bad football. Like, that's where we're going to start. And that's what I've tried to tell all the players is right now, I don't know if we're good enough to take advantage of bad football. I'm not sure. Like, we're undefeated right now, but if we can just work towards taking advantage of bad football and being good enough to when somebody makes a mistake, capitalizing on it and not being the ones that make the mistakes and focusing on the little things and the details and helping them do their job better. That's a great place to start.
Are you ready for some football? A Monday night party.
Hour 2 here on the Joe Murray Show. No Joe Murray tonight. You got Alex Barth with you up until 10 o'clock. George Spolvita behind the glass. And joining us in studio from Patriots.com, Evan Lazar, also the co-host of the Catch-22 podcast. You can check that out on Patriots.com. Evan, what's going on, man?
What's going on, buddy? How we doing?
Good. So I want to go back to that quote that we opened with.
Yeah.
Because this is something, and I wrote about this a couple weeks ago on 98.5thesportshub.com, but I want to bring it back because schedule release came out, right? Everybody got hot and bothered. 9, 10, 11 wins. Some people even saying as many as 13 for the Patriots. And when we go through the schedule, like I had 10. I had 10 on our live show that night with Matt Dolphin. I'm driving home and I'm like, wow, 10 wins, double digits. Like, that's a lot for a team that won 4 games last year. Did I screw up? And I'm thinking, like, how did I get to this number? And I'm simply going through and looking at the games they should win. Now, here's the thing. The Patriots have had some games the last few years that they should have won, that they did not win. It became a problem that they were not winning nearly enough the games they should win. You're not going to win 100% of the games you should win, but they were well below the 50% mark. And I'm like, well, if they can just win more of the games they should win, they'll be fine. And I remember hearing somebody say that. So I go home, I look it up. Oh, it was Mike Vrabel, his introductory press conference. It's that clip you just heard. We want to be good enough to take advantage of bad football. That's a good place to start. And I think he's absolutely right. So my question to you, Evan, is how much better suited are the New England Patriots now compared to the last few years, not just last year, the last few years? How much better suited are the Patriots to take advantage of bad football and limit their own bad football, which has been a problem?
Well, I feel like what you're asking is what's their floor as a team? And floor to me comes down to coaching and the talent floor of the roster. And we'd often talked about free agency being where you can build up that talent floor. And they went out in free agency, offseason compared especially to the offseason before that, and added a lot of talent in free agency that were big draft guys. I feel like you get into the draft, you almost forget to an extent that Milton Williams is on this team now. Carlton Davis is on this team now. Robert Spillane is on this team now. We'll see when Stephon Diggs comes back, but he's on this team now. That should get them to a certain floor, but to get them to these double-digit win totals that some people are predicting, that's the ceiling. That comes out of your young core of draft picks from the last couple of drafts, looking at Drake Maye, and then probably this year's draft class, realistically. So where are the Patriots at in terms of developing in-house talent, identifying it, first of all, the front office drafting the right people, which has been a big question mark on the offensive side of the ball, especially at the skill positions, and then the coaching staff going out there and actually developing it. If you want to predict 7 or 8 wins because of the floor of the team that they put together, I think that's a safe prediction. If you want to get into the double digits and start talking playoffs, then they're going to need Drake Maye and these young, talented players that they've drafted over the last couple of years to provide that ceiling.
When we talk about the floor, this is a team that was towards the bottom of the league last year in turnovers, towards the bottom of the league and on both sides, towards the bottom of the league in giveaways and takeaways, towards the bottom of the league in third down conversion. Penalties were an issue for them as well. Where is it? Those are things that can improve immediately, right? Player growth, you talk about the year 2 leap that Bill Belichick always mentioned, that can be rather stark, but some of these rookies, as much as me and you may like them and we both like the draft, like it is kind of a process for them to get better. Where do you think we see the quickest growth from this team in 2025?
Preparedness for games, game planning, things like that.
So coaching,
but I would say X's and O's coaching.
Okay.
More so than, I don't know yet about player development and all that kind of stuff. I think that it remains to be seen. But X's and O wise, doesn't it just feel like they're going to go into games and be better prepared for what the opponent's going to throw at them with Vrabel and Josh McDaniels together? McDaniels, to me, is one of the best game planning offensive coordinators in the NFL. So he's going to put them in a position every single week where they're going to know the looks that they're going to get. They're going to know the third down calls they're going to get from a defense. They're going to be prepared for those types of situations. Now, do they go out there and execute and make the plays? That's another question that remains to be seen. But I believe they'll be more prepared overall to handle what the opponent is going to throw at them. And that, again, goes back to that floor of, okay, well, you shouldn't be beating yourselves. You shouldn't be put in third down situations where they bring certain pressure looks and you just don't know how to adjust to it. You don't know how to check out of a play. You don't know how to adjust a protection. You don't know where your hot read is, on a certain look. Now they should be able to get away with some of those things. They should be better at some of those things.
Well, so this is all we're talking about, right? They should be better at setting protections. They should be better at hot reads.
Yeah.
And there's other areas where this preparedness applies, but in a lot of what you just named, they is Drake Maye.
Yeah.
Drake Maye is going to be the one doing that. And a lot was made last year about in the Alex Van Pelt system, here for so long, it's been the quarterback running the show at the line of scrimmage, and now it's the center, and that came with its own host of problems, but it's going to be back on Drake Maye this year. I think when we talk about the year 2 leap for Drake Maye, it's as much pre-snap as anything. It's figuring things out before. He needs to cut down on the turnovers, obviously, first and foremost. But the year 2 leap for Drake Maye, that difference where it's going to be really tangible is going to be before the ball is snapped.
Yeah, and you said turnovers. I think a lot of turnovers, especially from the quarterback position, come from when you're confused by what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And not only just confused by what you're looking at, but also maybe not prepared for what's coming your way as well. So you mentioned the quarterback and the pressure on the quarterback in this system to run all the protections and make all the calls and all that kind of stuff. To me, offensively, I mean, there's obviously a talent question in terms of skill talent. Are they going to have the receivers and pass catchers? Is the line really going to improve as much as we think it might? But I think the number one question right now with this team is Drake Maye and Josh McDaniels. And how much is Josh McDaniels going to morph not only the way they run things from a system perspective of calling plays, language thing, but also from a schematic thing. This is a different kind of quarterback than what McDaniels has historically had. This is not Brady, obviously is himself, but this isn't Derek Carr. This isn't Mac Jones. It's maybe a little bit of like Cam Newton.
It's that Cam Newton-y thing, which Did Drake Maye say back in the spring that he'd watched some Cam Newton Patriots tape?
Yeah, and Cam was one of his favorite players growing up,
Right,
obviously,
Carolina
in
guy,
the
yeah.
Carolina area. But we've talked about a little bit on our show of taking the 2020 Cam Newton offense and kind of combining that with the 2021 Mac Jones offense as a place to start. Where you have
Which
some of that
probably scares some people just schematically.
Right.
The ceiling is
The
higher
X's and
because
O's.
both those offenses had the same problem that they didn't produce enough explosive plays. The idea is a guy like Pop Douglas, a guy like Kyle Williams, a guy like Travion Henderson, they maybe didn't have a guy like that in those offenses. Or if they did, like this is, James White has drawn some comps to Travion Henderson, but that was James White at the end of his career versus Travion Henderson you look at as an ascending player. So something like that.
Yeah, and I've been big on, and I know it's another thing that kind of scares people sometimes is running Drake Maye by design. Because he did get banged up his rookie year. That's fair. He's had
he's got the new helmet now.
Yeah, he got some concussion issues last year, things like that. That did happen. I'm not, saying that that's nothing. But you have to be able to leverage his mobility to the defense. A big advantage that you have now is that you can play 11 on 11. The quarterback has to be accounted for. When you look at teams that have a quarterback that has truly a dual threat like Drake Maye is, and I'm a big Josh Allen guy, right? Josh Allen, but is the poster child for it. But Lamar Jackson's in that category too. A lot of guys are in that category. They are constantly using the quarterback's legs as a threat to the defense, whether that is him actually running or just having the option to run, or even moving the pocket, having him get out on bootlegs and things like that, to move the pocket and change the point of attack, using read options and zone read type concepts to hold the backside so that maybe Travion Henderson or Ramondre Stevenson has a little bit of extra room. You look at teams that run the football at a really high rate. All those teams have for the most part, have a mobile quarterback. All those teams have the quarterback that is accounting for backside end pressure, or the second level of the defense has to honor an RPO where they might have a slant coming into their window. They can't just drive down on the run fit because then they're going to throw the slant right by his ear. And those are the types of things that, in order to have this offense maximized around Drake Maye, the Patriots should be doing these kinds of things. Now, I get it. It worries people that he's going to get hurt. I understand that, but you kind of have to live with that to an extent because this is his superpower. His superpower is the mobility and the arm talent combined. If you just have him focus on the arm talent from the pocket, you're kind of having him play left-handed, right? Like you're kind of tying a hand behind his back to an extent.
Yeah, I don't know this playing left-handed, but you're not maximizing it.
Yeah, you're tying a hand behind it. You're going one-handed.
You're taking away
his back.
I'd put it, to use a golf analogy, you're taking a club out of his bag.
Yeah.
Like I still think he could be a solid quarterback if you just drop back and through, but you're not going to scratch the surface of his ceiling if you don't incorporate his legs. I think that's part of it, but you do have to be smart about it. The injuries are something that worry me. And I think it maybe gets a little more run here than usual because we watched Tom Brady for 20 years, every Sunday on the field, didn't miss a play, didn't miss a game. There's one year he got hurt, right? But he got hurt. He was out for the year. We never did the whole, is the quarterback going to be available this week thing? The closest we came to that was when the guy gashed his hand open on Wednesday or Thursday, whatever it was, for the AFC Championship game.
Surgery, though.
And it was not open heart surgery because he diced up the Jacksonville Jaguars. And no, he was not down. Or yes, he was down, whichever one it was, Kendra Middleton. But we never really did that here. And I think a lot of people don't realize, like, you don't want to be doing it every week. You can't do it every week. Then you get into like the Kyler Murray of it, and who are the other like oft injured quarterbacks. Cam kind of at the end of his career. You see it with some Tua's the big one where like you're kind of, all right, if he starts 12 games this year, we're good, and who knows when they'll be. Like there's a happy medium between that. But the idea that, all right, this guy's a starting quarterback, he's going to start 17 games, and that's going to be the way it is between now and when he retires or goes to the Bucs. Like, that's part of the greatness of Brady. That's another thing that we saw that was great that maybe isn't the fairest expectation for anybody else. So the running, you do need to run, but I do think it needs to be done in a certain way in which you're not putting the franchise in harm's way more than you need to. And some of that's on Drake.
Yeah, I was going to say, some of that's on him.
Yeah, learning how
to manage it.
To go down. And we heard last year, there's this whole conversation about sliding maybe isn't the safest thing because you expose your head and fine. The line I used, because Jaden Daniels had a big problem with this in college. And the line I used for Jaden Daniels, and I'll use it for Drake Maye, you take him out to the field, you walk him over to the sideline, you point down, you say, you see that? That's your best friend.
Yeah.
Get to know it. That's where I'm kind of at with Drake Maye. We can get more into Drake Maye. We can get more to the Patriots. If you guys want to call and talk football with Evan Lazar, 617-779-0985. We got some open phone lines. So you want to call in, we'll get you right on with Lazar again, 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray.
I'm talking about open heart surgery here.
You're listening to Joe Murray on
Quick, smelly.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
Back here on the Joe Show, no Joe Murray tonight. It's Alex Barth with you up until 10 o'clock. We've got Evan Lazar with us talking Patriots. I get it's the question of the week, and it's going to be the question until Wednesday when we get back out there again for practice, Evan.
Yeah.
Were you worried at all about the four intercept? Where were you moments in Patriots history? Right there's the snowball kick. There's 28-3. There's the Edelman catch against the Seahawks. Quinn Nordine 10 for 10 at the in-stadium practice. Shout out Tom Curran for that joke. And then there is now there was the Mac Jones Giants training camp practice. Seminal moment in the franchise.
Yeah.
Probably was a big moment in the franchise because that's part of the reason he started right away.
Yeah.
And then you had the Drake Maye 4 interception practice. Now I should know, I believe it was Mike Reese who reported that in the next practice Drake Maye went out there and lit it up. So this is why I couch everything I say from OTAs, not because I'm scared to give a take, but it's not linear like training camp is. We can go out at training camp, and if a player has a bad day, and I love doing this at training camp, especially for quarterbacks, a big tell for me. So-and-so had a bad day. Great. Let me see how he follows up tomorrow. Love to watch those kind of things. You don't get that at OTAs. There's 9 of them. We only get to see 3. We saw the second practice of what is now, I think, 3 total, right? And we'll have one more before we see him again on Wednesday. So that will be the 5th, the second one we see. So I always couch everything with that. We don't see the whole thing, but 4 interceptions, especially 4 on the first 6 passes, certainly is kind of jarring. What'd you make of it?
In a vacuum, I'm not too concerned about it.
Yeah.
But to me, it speaks to a bigger picture issue, or not issue, but just a bigger picture conversation thing to look for, you know, thing to monitor moving forward. And it goes back to what I said in the first segment. To me and to a lot of people that were out there last week, it looked like a quarterback that was still learning a system. And ideally, in year 2 of Drake Maye, he wouldn't be learning a system. He'd be mastering a system. We would already be at a higher point in the learning curve. But by necessity, because of the state of the coaching staff last year, the Patriots had to change the coaching staff. They had to go in this direction and hire Mike Vrabel and hire a new offensive coordinator and go into this second year with Drake Maye with a whole new setup. It really didn't have much of a choice but to do that, and they put themselves in that position. So now he looks like a quarterback that's, I wouldn't say back to square one, because the speed of the game and the feel for the game, you learn all that as a rookie. But in terms of the scheme and in the playbook, he looks like a guy, or looked like a guy last week, that is starting anew. And that's not ideal. Like, let's face it. The ideal thing would be that he would be off to the races with a similar system, and it would be a complete non-factor. But the good news to me about it is you're almost taking one step back to go 2 steps forward. And in the long run, he's going to be better off for playing in this system than the system he was in last year. And he's in better hands with Josh McDaniels. But the reality is that maybe he's not going to hit the ground running in his second training camp. Maybe we do have to adjust for a little bit of a learning curve.
So I don't think any of that's wrong. This is just my take on it was, we're suddenly worried Drake Maye might have a turnover problem. Did you watch last year? Like
that's excessive.
No, I know, but it's like, oh no, Drake Maye has trouble turning the ball over. Like, if you're just coming up with that idea that Drake Maye is a turnover problem after an OTA practice, like, did you watch last year? We knew. We did the big thing for Drake Maye going into this year. Number 1, cut down on turnovers. We knew that. So all it tells me is, okay, he didn't fix the problem yet. And he still has a ton of time to fix it. That's not me saying it's not going to get fixed. But he still has time to fix it. So I don't know how much new information there was in that practice. It doesn't mean it's not concerning, but it's a concern you probably should have already had. And everybody trying to be, oh my God, what? Like, yeah, he's a little loose with the football. We knew. Let's go to the phones. You want to join us, 617-779-0985. Stephen Wellesley wants to talk about the Patriots rookies. Steve, what do you got?
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, just want to say I'm a big fan, long-time listener, first-time caller. Love the draft cover. The draft coverage was awesome. And I just wanted to talk about the two most likely contributors on offense, rookies specifically, Kyle and Travion. I've heard, obviously, we've talked about them a lot, but I would like to get both of y'all to give us some projected numbers for both of them. Help me play some DraftKings bets. All right, I'll take it off the air. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks for calling. I think those probably aren't out yet, like over-unders for those guys. Let me ask you this, because I heard somebody say this the other day. Like, who is the more likely of the two to win Rookie of the Year?
Win Rookie of the Year? I would say Travion Henderson.
So I've seen Travion Henderson as like a sleeper Rookie of the Year pick. Sleeper. He's a second-round running back. The reason I don't buy that doesn't so much have to do with Travion Henderson. We know Josh McDaniels is very cognizant of running back workloads, and he doesn't let his backs get overworked. I think it's going to be really good for this team as a whole that he believes that, because they have run Ramondre Stevenson into the ground each of the last 3 years, and you're going to get a fresh Ramondre Stevenson. I think he's going to be better this year. That being said, there's going to be more balance. I don't know that Travion Henderson is going to have the volume to win Rookie of the Year. I think he's going to be an impactful player, and I think he's going to make some big plays for them. To win Rookie of the Year as a running back, you got to be 1,000-yard rusher. You have to be at least, probably 1,100 or above that, especially in a year that also has Ashton Genty, who's going to get fed the football nonstop in Las Vegas. So I really like Travion Henderson. I still like that pick. I think he's a good fit. I don't know that the volume is going to be there for him. I almost lean, and I'm not picking either of these guys to win Rookie of the Year, I almost lean Kyle Williams, because I think Kyle Williams' ability after the catch is going to be great in Josh McDaniels' offense. I think he is going to be a guy that has a ton of volume, and I think he's going to be a guy that can create on his own. And as improved as the offensive line is, it's still a work in progress. Travion Henderson is going to be somewhat reliant on that. Kyle Williams, they're going to get him the ball in space and let him go to work. And I love that opportunity for him.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I thought that Kyle Williams' practice, I know so we get these practice stats that get out there, and he's 1 for 4 on his targets or something like that the other day. When
one of them, he was wide open and the ball was just underthrown. I think it was Dobbs. He didn't do anything wrong there.
Right. And again, in these settings, you always tell me to not overreact to OTAs with speed receivers, because
I'd like to remind you to not do Tyquan Thornton again.
Right.
Who was the guy? Maurice Harris?
Maurice Harris.
Our first year covering the team.
Great spring.
Amazing. We thought they had. So quick story time. First year me and Evan covered the Patriots. Or you weren't there that first spring, so this might have been 2019, but our first time covering spring practices.
Yeah, I think it was 2019.
The Patriots had signed like late free agent signing, 1 year, close to minimum deal. This guy named Maurice Harris, who would kind of bounce around the league a little bit, and we saw him out there, and he was unbelievable in the spring in the first few days of summer, and we both, oh my God, it was 19. The wide receiver issues are solved. They got this guy, he's like Randy Moss out there. And then they put the pads on. And I don't even think he made it to the end of camp. I think he got cut before the end of camp.
Yeah, I think he got cut on the 75-man roster.
We got a good welcome to the NFL moment with Maurice Harris. But I do like to bring that up. Nothing against Maurice Harris, but I do like to bring that up when we talk about these practices.
Right. When you have a receiver like Kyle Williams who specializes in speed and separation, then you go out there in a non-padded practice and you can't contact the receiver at the line of scrimmage, he's obviously going to have some advantage over the defensive backs in that case. But I thought he got open more than if you just read 1 for 4 and how that sounds. I thought he got open more, and I like what I think is sort of the plan for Josh McDaniels right now. Brandon Cooks maybe a little bit.
Yeah, the more I hear that comp, the more I like it.
Yeah, some of the shades of that, of just the usage of the role. I think they're a little bit different in terms of players, in terms of archetypes, but just in terms of the role that they might play in this offense. 2017 Brandon Cooks, it kind of feels a little bit like that with Kyle Williams. So one of the things that McDaniels is great at is hunting free releases for receivers, whether that's shifting them right before the snap or putting them in stacks, 2 receiver stacks, 3 receiver bunches, putting them condensed into the line of scrimmage where it's harder to press them off the line of scrimmage. When you do those types of different things, those tricks that get them off the line, and you have Kyle Williams' explosiveness and his speed, it can really put him into some really good foot races and allow him to win off the line pretty easily. So I like that about him. I think he can separate a little bit on the outside, which is something maybe they don't necessarily have fully.
Right.
So I'm intrigued by what they have in mind for Kyle Williams. And again, I thought that his practice was better than those practice stats might suggest.
So we'll be back out there Wednesday. It's the next practice. I'll have plenty of coverage on 985thesportshub.com. Evan will have patriots.com. Before we let you go, Evan, I need you to hang around for one more segment because people don't know this. Evan's a bit of a hoop head.
It's true.
As much as he talks football, you've actually claimed in private that you know basketball as much or more than football.
I don't know
accurate?
I'd probably like basketball just
kind
as
of
much
paraphrasing here.
Yeah, I don't know if I know more, but
I got to ask you about these NBA playoffs. I'm curious your thought on what we've seen in these NBA playoffs. We'll get into some Celtics stuff too. We'll do that next, but first a check of the headlines here on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Game 4 of the NHL's Eastern Conference.
Like and Bertrand get you through the midday. Joe Murray gets you right through the night.
I actually spoke with women today.
On the Sports Hub.
2 seconds left. Inbound to Nembhard to let it roll to midcourt. Takes a dribble, launches a shot from the right wing. It's off the back rim, and the Knicks have done it. With a 106-100 win, their NBA Finals hopes are very much alive.
Just way to stay poised and way to stay confident in each other, and we don't have to quit.
That was final call last night, Knicks-Pacers. So that series now has a little bit of life. The Thunder and Timberwolves are about to tip off tonight. That could be a game evening series. It's Alex Barth with you in for Joe Murray. We do have Evan Lazar in from Patriots.com, but I'm going to pull Evan. So a lot of you probably think actually I'm going to pull Evan out of his comfort zone here. Evan is a hoop head.
I am. It's true.
He is even a little bit of a green teamer.
Not a little bit.
Not a little bit. Your words, not mine.
A lot of it.
So I have to ask you, Evan, as a basketball fan first, I need you to put the green teamer thing for aside a second.
Okay.
As a basketball fan, have you enjoyed these playoffs, specifically these conference finals games?
Playoffs have been great in terms of upsets, right? I mean, the 1 and 2 seed in the East are gone.
Okay, there's been upsets.
There's been more parity in this playoffs than really any time that in our life. Like most of the time in the NBA, the best team wins every year, right? OKC might still do that. They're the best team. Yeah. They might still win. But they're going to play a team with the Knicks and the Pacers that probably shouldn't be there, right? I mean, let's call it for what it is.
Is it entertaining basketball that's leading to these upsets?
I would say, as a fan, what disappoints me is that no lead is safe. And I think when you're watching the games as a fan, you want to, at some point, when it's 20-point lead in the fourth quarter, like your heart's pounding. You don't want to have to sit there and watch every single minute like it could just flip like that. I mean, watching the Knicks do to the Pacers what they did to the Celtics in games 1 and 2 and game 3, that brought back some trauma.
Okay, like here's my thing. Did the Knicks do that to the Pacers, or did the Pacers do that to themselves?
Well, at some point, you got to give the Knicks some credit.
You do have to give the Knicks some credit.
They now did it to the Celtics, and they did it to Indiana. So at some point,
what I think you're seeing, look, comebacks are great and they're fun, and some people might hear what you just said and say, no, I want to be on the edge of my seat for every game. This is great.
Nope, not as a fan.
So, well, not as a fan of your team.
Right, I don't want to.
A neutral game might be different. I want the
game to be over.
Why was 28-3 so special? Because usually when it's a 25-point game in the second half, the game is over. When it becomes every game, teams just blow 20-point leads, and that becomes the norm.
Yeah.
They're not exciting comebacks. It's just teams getting up and coasting and being lazy. And I think what you've seen in these conference finals is, and the Knicks have blown some leads in this series as well. The East is a lot of lazy chuck and pray basketball. And then in the West, it's SGA, and I mean, the league can't be happy that their MVP, you go online, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's a little bit of a punchline right now. And you have the big accounts being like, oh, we have to watch this guy tonight because of the foul baiting. And you're seeing it from Minnesota a little bit as well. You have chuck and pray in one conference. You have foul baiting nonstop in the other. I just don't think it's been a great product in the conference finals, and even going back to the last round to an extent. Some of those, there's been some good individual games. I do not think in terms of the quality of the basketball that this playoffs is where it's been in recent years. Even last year, we can talk about the weak path the Celtics had. Some of those games against the Pacers were good. Yeah. And some of those games, the Nuggets series, I forget, was it the Mavericks who knocked them out or the Timberwolves? But I remember that being like an entertaining, it was entertaining basketball. I don't think it's been as the parity's there. The path to the parity to me has not been as entertaining.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think a lot of what we're seeing now, though, is whether you like it or not, this is the modernization of the NBA.
And I don't like it.
That's fair, but this is now a wide open, pace and space kind of league. Like the days of we're going to throw it into the post and the guy's going to, bang against the guy for 5 seconds and throw up a hook shot. Like, we're not doing that anymore. They don't play like that anymore.
And this goes something else I say. The NBA is a coaching problem. There's not a lot of good coaches in the NBA right now. There's not a lot of creativity. Everybody plays the same way. It's not exactly an inspired way. They were talking on the afternoon show earlier about, you got to move on from Joe Mazzulla. Well, who do you get? It is kind of a fair question because there aren't that many like inspired great coaches out there. There's a couple. Eric Spoelstra, I think at this point in his career has established that he is a good he's a good basketball coach. The other guy, I'd have to pull up a list, honestly. There might be 5 or 6 legitimately good coaches in the league. You can be a top 10 coach in this league and maybe not be a great coach right now.
Well, I think we disagree on the coaching thing because I think the NBA is 90% player driven. It's the talent on the floor. It's a 5-on-5 sport. We're big football guys.
Yeah.
Like, football is a different kind of game. Football is a chess match. It's 11 on 11. It's a lot of scheme. It's a lot of X's and O's. I don't think basketball is the same way. And what you look at across the league now is maybe a little bit more parity than what we've had in the past. But at the end of the day, the winner of the NBA Finals is probably going to be OKC, and it's probably going to be the MVP of the league, right? Like, Shea is the MVP. He's probably going to then win the championship, and it's Shea's time, right? Like, it's OKC's time. It's SGA's time. That's what the Celtics were in basically last year without the MVP. But I just feel like people like you that like to make this a nerds thing, and they like
but it is.
You like to come at people like me that love watching basketball. You want it to be a different style. You want it to be like the 80s and 90s.
But this isn't, not even the 90s, like 2010. It's the last 4 or 5 years. And look, it is a player-driven league, and I don't know how much coaching props up a team. A bad coach can hurt a team. And you saw it last night with Rick Carlisle. You saw it with Joe Mazzulla against the Celtics.
Well, everybody says Rick Carlisle is this great coach, and then he coaches one bad game down the stretch where the Knicks do exactly to the Pacers what they did to the Celtics, and Joe Mazzulla got dragged for it. It's like, well, you can't. And
Carlisle should be dragged for it. I never said that about Carlisle. Like, I thought, is he the worst coach in the league? No. I think he's another guy that he might be a top 10 coach in the league. That doesn't mean he's a good coach because there's such a lack of coaching. So I just don't get how you have Karl Anthony Towns out there with 5 fouls. You have Jalen Brunson out there with 5 fouls. 80s and 90s. No, watching even 5-6 years ago, I saw the Celtics do it against the Magic a few months ago. The guy has 5 fouls. You put him in the action. You attack him. You make him offend downhill, especially a star player like that who offensively can't afford to come out of the game. I don't know why that's such a horrible thing to do. The Celtics refused to do it against the Knicks, and the Pacers refused to do it against the Knicks because they'd rather jack threes instead. That's what kills me. There's basic fundamental concepts. I'm not talking about getting a Shaq to back somebody down in the post and get a hook shot. Guy has 5 fouls. You hunt him defensively.
I think the Pacers tried to do that last night.
They could have tried harder.
But the Knicks, not to get too technical, but the Knicks were playing drop coverage.
No, let's see it. Flex the X's and O's on hoops. Let's see it.
The Knicks were playing drop coverage, right? And they do that's what they mostly do. Against the Celtics, the first 2 games, they went to a switching defense like Orlando played. And when they started switching everything, it took the Celtics by surprise. If you want to get on Mazzulla for anything about the Celtics series, is that Tibbs changed his system up defensively, and the Celtics were anticipating the drop coverage that they saw all year in the regular
Joe Mazzulla
season,
didn't adjust?
And they weren't quick to adjust. That's 100% a knock on Mazzulla. But last night when you watch, Halliburton gets that high pick and roll with Miles Turner, they're in drop coverage, and what the Knicks do a really good job of in drop, the center kind of sags off, Towns sags off into the lane and basically forces the jump shot. And what the Knicks do a great job of is their wings kind of cheat in just enough that you sort of see them in the picture, right? If you're the driver, like it cuts off just enough of the lane that you're hesitant to go in there because you're going to have everybody collapse on you. So the key to beating that coverage is the pull-up 3. But you people don't want to take that shot.
Why not drive and kick? Like, that's the thing. You can't even drive and kick. There's possession.
Because they're set up to collapse on the defense, though. Like,
right, so if the defense is going to collapse, then that's going to leave people open on the perimeter.
Right, so you can draw 2, right? So you can draw 2
drive
to the ball.
And kick, all right, I'm going to take them on, and then the play's not there, so I'm going to dribble back out behind the 3-point line. Now I'm going to go in a couple circles, and now come on, just drive. It's not that they're.
That's why they lost that game.
It's not just that they're jacking
did
threes.
Multiple times he took the air out of the ball.
Drive and kick. It's not just that they're jacking threes. It's that the ball is not allowed to go inside the 3-point line. We saw those possessions with the Celtics. We saw it last night where the key is lava. The key is lava. You cannot set foot in the key. It is hot lava. And you can't even drive and kick or anything. It's this one guy iso ball. Like, at a certain point, the coach needs to yell on the sideline, drive the ball. At some point, that needs to happen. You got to call a timeout or something, get everybody's head right. Like you said, you see that defensive adjustment, they're going to collapse. I'm more worried.
But the way to do that, and Tatum's really good at this,
Tatum is an excellent drive and kick player.
Heel up, JT, get back, please. Okay, but the way to beat this coverage in my mind is you make a couple of those pull-up jump shots right off the pick.
Yeah.
You come right off the screen, you go right up into the drop coverage, you can have that pocket of space to go right up. If you make a couple of those, then Towns starts cheating up, right? Then he's got to respect that you're going to pull up there. So he starts cheating up, and that's when you blow by. The problem was Halliburton last night just kept dribbling the ball. He wouldn't take the shot.
So I think at a certain point, the coach needs to encourage some action. I put part of that on the coaching. If it happens once or twice, the player made a dumb play. Once the player does the same stupid thing 4 times in a row, the coach needs to say something. That's not just a Halliburton thing. It's not just Tatum thing. This happens around the league, and it's painful.
Yeah, that's fair enough. The Knicks defense, though, I think they deserve some credit. They deserve a lot of credit, I would say, too. Like, the Pacers are a max pace kind of team. They push the ball. They play at a faster pace than just about anybody in the league. And the Knicks did a great job of slowing them down. The Pacers don't want to play in the half court. Like, they don't want to be, they don't want to have to manipulate defense in the half court and, like, go about it that way. They want to run the court like they were doing in the first half of that game.
Sometimes you got to slow it down. And I don't know why.
Well, that's on, like, I don't think Halliburton is truly, like, Halliburton's not truly like a half court player like Brunson or Tatum, where like he can take over a game in the half court. That's not his true strength. He's a great passer. He's a great 3-point shooter, but he's not a creator in that sense. And so I don't know if the Pacers, I think Siakam is probably the guy that's closest to being able to create his own shot in the half court on Indiana.
He was good last night. Could it give him the ball in the post? He had that back down on Towns, the reverse shoulder. Run that more, but no, it's not a mathematically efficient shot. So
don't go there.
Do that.
That's not.
You know who I'll give credit on the Knicks, honestly, is OG Anunoby. That's the one guy I give credit because defensive first player who has just randomly turned into Ray Allen the last 2 weeks. In the corner, automatic. There were so many times that series against the Celtics where I'm thinking like, I'll live with Anunoby taking that shot, and he just drained it. He was unbelievable. You want to stick around for musings?
Let's do it.
All right, one more segment with Devin Lazar coming up on the Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray.
We call them the Joe Murray Pre-Party. It's Felger and Maz afternoons right now. Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
You want a random take? Murray's got all sorts on stuff in the world unrelated to sports. So sit back, relax, and get your mind in the game and listen to the words of a grown man complaining.
All right, it's time for Musings non-sports take. All right, so I do have a complaint tonight real quick. So our computer system has one of those things where you have to reset your password every however.
Is it like 18 characters?
Always the most inopportune time.
Well, so that's the thing. I saw it on whenever I was in here Thursday or Friday, I forget. But like I saw it and I'm like, I should reset it now. But I was rushing to do something. And then it was like, all right, but like, just know that I'm not doing it now. It's going to come up Monday when you're trying to, or Monday night when you're trying to get on air for the show. So I sit down, trying to get going. I have all my notes in a Google Doc. I don't really print out my notes. George was nice enough to print out the rundown for me. I don't always get to that. So all my notes are in a Google Doc. You got to change your password. Oh, come on. Intro's playing. Like, I get it. It's safe. It's just very annoying. Seems like a Joe thing to complain about. So, my other musing, my non-sports take tonight. 1 year from today, which I believe is a Tuesday, Grand Theft Auto 6 is supposedly going to be released. We will see. People who follow this game know that that's kind of, when they give us a date, grain of salt. But I got to do the hype train for college football coming back last year, and that was a ton of fun. And GTA is going to be another level, man. Like, this game is good. The entire world's waiting for this game. It's going to be super cool. So I'm working tonight. We'll see if I end up working 1 week from 1 year from tonight. Oh, that's a Tuesday night. It won't be like a holiday weekend, so probably not. But I'm a gamer. I'm mostly a sports gamer. GTA 6 is going to be a cool one. I didn't get into GTA 5 till late. Honestly, that was my pandemic thing early on, was getting really into that. But GTA, with the long wait, 13 years, right?
Am I a bad father if I confess that my 6 and 4-year-old play some GTA, Vice City, and San Andreas?
No, Bill's character.
Plus the older ones, they're not as graphic.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say, am I a bad father if I'm sending my kids to their friend's house for a sleepover so I can play the game when it comes out?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, Liz. You know when this game comes out next year. You know what time it is.
It's a school night. Just keep that in mind. It is a school night for them. Not for you, but for them.
Yeah, as a parent, you kind of stay up sometimes when the kids crash, and then you'll be hearing the beeping of the PlayStation 5.
There you go. So that's my musing. You got anything on your mind, Evan?
I do. I was gonna go video games too, but I'm gonna go out on a limb. You told me to talk about this.
Yes.
So I'm gonna do it. And on our show, Patriots Unfiltered, shameless plug, we were talking about this the other day. The death of the great rock band. Name me a great rock band right now, because we've been talking a lot off the air about how I need hobbies because I'm not used to the Celtics being out this early. The Bruins, there's not playoff sports going on right now in Boston, Red Sox, so I need something to do with my free time. And I'm looking for some recommendations, maybe, because to me the last great rock bands were our generation.
So let me be clear. There are great bands.
Yeah.
But you're talking about new.
And I'm talking about elite. I'm not talking about, these are good, they're good vibe, whatever. I'm talking, we were talking on the show about the Rolling Stones and Zeppelin and those types of bands. Our bands like Green Day and Blink 182, maybe Foo Fighters.
I put the Foo Fighters in there.
Yeah.
The Foo Fighters are outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm with there are pop stars. There are certainly massive pop stars.
Yeah.
Some of these rappers are huge. You might have individual acts that are big that go with bands, but you don't really have that many. And there's some country bands that are up there. What was the last rock star band that so the one other one I'll put it the Killers maybe?
Yeah, but some people said Imagine Dragons, but even that was going back a ways.
And that's sort of pop, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was early 2010s.
Sure,
we're still going back a decade.
That's 15 years ago now. So, yeah, you don't really see... And a lot of... And don't get me wrong, there's some really good new acts out there in rock. There absolutely are. But they don't get the attention that you think of when you think of a stadium show rock band, right? They're not selling out Gillette. They're not selling out MetLife. It's true. You don't really have that many great new rock bands anymore.
No, we have the stadium series going on right now. I went to Kendrick Lamar a couple of weeks ago. Like, they bring back like Metallica. You know, like, because like, there's nobody to fill that spot, right?
Metallica can fill the spot. I don't know if you saw Metallica played Lane Stadium, which is the Virginia Tech football stadium, and their intro song is Enter Sandman. Right. So they played Enter Sandman there. That was awesome. Go watch it. It's all over social media. If you haven't watched it, just look up Metallica Lane Stadium. That was a great just like thing because they got into it. They bought into it. Like he led the chant because they do "Let's Go Hokies" and then the song starts playing. So like he led the chant before he started playing the song. He really embraced it. So that was cool.
That's how we got into this conversation. Was a new entrance music for the Patriots, right? Like the Patriots.
No more Crazy Train?
They've used Crazy Train. It's kind of run its course.
Well, last year was like the Lil Jon version of Crazy Train. Let's Go, right?
So maybe there's something different, something new, and we were trying to kick around some ideas. Somebody did bring up Enter Sandman, but that's been used, it's Mariano Rivera, it's Virginia Tech. Like that, those are other places that are using that. So we were trying to figure out, there's another thing we can crowdsource. We're trying to figure out a new entrance music. Patriots running out of the tunnel week 1 against the Raiders. Like, what's the song that's playing?
617-779-0985. What would you pick? What was your answer?
I didn't have a good one. That was the problem. That's what brought this whole thing up.
George, what do you think?
Foo Fighters, Best of You.
That could work.
I'm over there like scrounging for like rejoiners so that'll play next week.
That's just what you have up. All right. You got to be I think it's got to be a little more like aggressive than that. I do like that song.
But good ones like "Till I Collapse" by Eminem, but Eminem's a Detroit guy.
So
that
So then it's Dream On.
Yeah, it's got to be like
that song does have some association with the Patriots.
Yeah.
Was that their touch? No, it was "Elevation" by U2 was their touchdown song.
Yeah,
before Bon Jovi.
This is our house. Yeah.
This is our house. So
yeah.
All right, there you go, Evan. Thanks for coming in, man.
Anytime.
You can find him on Patriots.com, on social media at EZ Lazar. I want to get into some more of that NBA playoff stuff as we have this game going on right now. It's shaping up to be a good game early. Will it stay that way? History tells us no. We'll get to that. Just going to get you caught up on the headlines. 90 seconds, no commercials, and we're back.
From the Telfair Tire Studios, WBZ FM HD1.
It's not just the games. It's Toucher and Hardy, Zolak and Bertrand, Felger and Maz, Joe Murray. For Boston sports fans, it's 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Beasley Media Group Station.
Essential Sports Hub headline, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Western Conference Finals in the NBA going on right now. It's Game 4 as the Minnesota Timberwolves try to even things up with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Late in the first quarter, the Thunder lead 24-20. Make that 27-20. Again, late in the first. Meanwhile, it's the first intermission of Game 4 in the NHL's Eastern Conference Finals. Hurricanes and Panthers are scoreless down in Florida. The Panthers would win the series with a sweep with a win tonight. The Red Sox dropped their first game against the Milwaukee Brewers this afternoon of this week's series. They lost 3-2, despite a great outing from Garrett Crochet. 5 hits allowed, 11 strikeouts in 6 2/3 innings. Sox are back at it tomorrow. Down at Gillette Stadium this afternoon, Cornell knocked off Maryland to win the Men's National Lacrosse Championship. North Carolina beat Northwestern to win the women's title yesterday. And the seeding and regionals are out for the College World Series this year. Vanderbilt is your number 1 overall seed. As for local teams in the tournament, Northeastern, Rhode Island, Holy Cross, Central Connecticut, and Fairfield will all be participating. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Premier Basement Waterproofing. Finding water in your basement from last week's nor'easter. Time to get it waterproofed so you never have to worry again. Call our guys at Premier 844-LIVE-DRY or premierbasement.net. It's game over for water. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
If you've got the app, you've got Toucher and Hardy to wake you up no matter where you are.
Or who may or may not have been to jail.
Get the app. The 98.5 The Sports Hub app.
Everybody knows Joe.
Just keeps getting better.
Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right, before we get back to basketball, again, it's Alex Barth here in for Joe Murray. George Spolvita behind the glass. We were talking Patriots. John in Rhode Island has a couple Patriots thoughts. I want to get to him. John, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, Alex. How you doing?
Good.
Excellent. So I think Enter Sandman would be a good option. How do we feel about Thunderstruck?
So they use that they actually use that I think it's Thunderstruck, right? That plays right before the kickoff. They play. Dang. It's for those about to rock. Sorry, they do for those about. They use Thunderstruck for something, but it's for those about to rock is what plays like as the kicker's foot goes into the ball.
Gotcha. Another thing would be just a Will Campbell question. I know how much you love Will Campbell questions. What week into training camp would you think that people start freaking out about how he let up a sack? Probably like week 1, right?
John, I'll be honest with you, and thanks for the call. Will Campbell could put out a blank sheet through 17 weeks. No pressures, no sacks. Allow a sack the last play of a meaningless Week 18 game. And you're going to get a million people, short arms, blah. Like, it's going to happen. And just get ready for it. People are going to freak out. It's going to happen. Give the kid time just like you would any other rookie. That's just the reality of it.
He's smaller than a tight end in 3-point stance.
Yeah, if he can block, he can block. I don't care. It's not... The NFL... really did this kid wrong. And a lot of kids, by the way, not just him. I talked a lot about this during the draft. We don't have to get too deep into this, but the numbers at the combine were wrong. They were wrong. There is actual evidence out there. There was reporting on this. Yes, the number at the combine is historically low. That's not the real number. He got shortchanged less than some other guys. I've said this. Poor Marcus Mabeau from Purdue lost a whole inch. He has 33-inch arms on the dot. He should get a chance to play tackle. They measured him in at 32. That's a true guard. He was like a fringe top 100 pick. He went 154th to the Giants. So everybody needs to relax about the arm length. It is a factor. I don't say it's not a factor. It is absolutely a factor, but it's a factor in the sense that you watch, right? You put on the tape. You watch them. Does it compensate for it? Yes or no? There's guys with long arms with bad technique. There's guys with short arms with good technique. If he had short arms and bad technique, yeah, he's not playing tackle, obviously. It's not a factor in the sense that it's disqualifying. It's a factor in the sense that when you watch him, it's something you want to see how he compensates for. Just like some of these receivers that maybe aren't the fastest, right? There's some receivers that don't run a great 40, so you watch that and you factor in. The Rams didn't rule out Puka Nacua. But all right, what else does he do to make up for it? That kind of thing. Let's go to Kevin in the car. He's got another entrance song for the Patriots. Kevin, what are you thinking?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I just want you to clear your mind of all the garbage that we hear at stadiums over the last 20 years. Because there's just too much of it that we hear. If I hear Enter Sandman one more time, I'm going to throw up on my shoes.
I'm out on Enter Sandman. It's too tied to the Yankees.
I'm out on Thunderstruck. I'm out on all that garbage. It's too saturated. Hear me out, okay?
Okay.
We want something aggressive. We want something loud. We want something to the point. And we want something that we don't have to listen to the whole song in order to appreciate.
Yeah, you really only focus on the first 45 seconds to a minute. That's a good point.
Correct.
Or it can be any 45 seconds to a minute. You can start it in the middle.
I'm here to suggest and recommend Damage Incorporated by Metallica off of their Masters of Puppets album. The first 45 seconds, if you take out the intro, the first 45 of that song will destroy the entire stadium. If that team isn't fired up to kill people, I don't know what to tell you.
So I'm not, thanks for the call, Kevin. George, I might need you to pull that up. I'm not entirely familiar.
What Metallica track did he mention again?
I'll know it when I see it.
Come on, YouTube chat.
I'm not, I admittedly not a big Metallica guy. A little bit before I'm aware of them and I appreciate their music, but I don't have that entire discography in my head. It was Master of Puppets. I'll know when I see it because I heard the name. The name stuck out to me. No, I don't. Oh, Damage Inc. Damage Incorporated. And I'm assuming, obviously double check the lyrics before you play it, but I'm assuming it's fine. It's an intro. So I think there's some people that want it to be like a big time notable song. I don't think it has to be. I think there's value in that, but I don't think it has to be. I wouldn't hate something newer though. Again, I don't know what it is. but I wouldn't hate something newer. Or just some like instrumental. You can find something. Or maybe the Patriots should adopt a band like a college team. Because marching bands at football games sound really cool. Maybe that should be a thing. You got any other ideas? 617-779. Oh, I've heard this.
Very Jim Murray-esque.
Yeah. I guess that could... Yeah, that's in the ballpark. It's kind of what you're looking for. All right. Put it on the list, I guess. I'll believe they're moving. So last year for one of the preseason games, they didn't play Crazy Train. And it was like kind of a thing. People were surprised, and then it came back the next game. So we'll see it when we see it. One person, Carrie Ann in the YouTube chat, is in on marching bands. There's something about a marching band in a football game. Give that, and it would be ironic if it was the Patriots that did it. Like the least college football market in the entire NFL is the one that's going to adopt this very college football idea. But you put on a football game and you hear, and this wouldn't just be for the intro. Like you'd obviously have somebody write a Patriots fight song, right? You'd play a Patriots fight song, but and then keep them there throughout the game. Put them with the Minutemen. Which one is this?
BC Eagles fight song. I wish college football was big over here.
For Boston, really yeah, you can't. But they're the New England Patriots. You can't do for Boston. I thought of that. I almost said that. Just use for Boston. But no, I think you'd have to come up with a new New England Patriots fight song. Some of the chat said the Undertaker theme. Yeah, you can pull any wrestling theme works, but he's from Texas. It's got to be somebody from here with some ties to the team or something. I guess that'd be John Cena. That song's got a life of its own. You can't use that.
Somebody say wrestling. Oh, yeah. NWO, Stone Cold Steve Austin, up my alley.
We got one more call on this here. Let's go to John in Brockton. John, what would you use?
Hey, I was thinking Motley Crue, Kickstart My Heart. Right from the start, it's, get you going.
Motley Crue, Kickstart My Heart. Thanks. It's all the same era, maybe. You got it, George? All right, he's going to pull that up. Oh, yeah, all right. I know all these songs. I just don't know the names for some reason.
Yeah, and they're right, too, on the era. This 80s, mid-80s, late 80s,
this is
early
more
90s.
When I hear this is a closer. This is like some crazy closer. Some guy that's got a nuts mustache. His hat's not on straight. Coming, he's going to throw 102. Nobody knows where it's going.
Does sound like a closer.
This is a closer entrance. You want one more Boston sports music take?
Sure.
While we're on this?
Yeah.
This isn't necessarily a unique take. I know I'm not alone in this, but I'll just throw it out there. I was talking to my brother about this the other day. So, all right, it's kind of a half take. So a lot of people obviously have kind of grown tired of Sweet Caroline at Fenway. Should either get rid of it entirely or change the song and do something else there. There's other songs I think you could use. My vote has been Mr. Brightside. But here's what I think they really should do with Sweet Caroline. It should be like Geno Time at the Garden or like Josie at Gillette. Only play. I'm not against playing it. Don't play it after the Red Sox give up 5 runs to the Yankees and now the game is blown and it's over. All right, that sucked, but it's time to sing Sweet Caroline. No. Now, close game or the Red Sox are up big, we're in a celebratory mood, yeah, play it. Get the crowd going. It shouldn't be an every night thing. That's my big Boston sports music take. Is either, if you're going to, whatever song it is, you could also replace the song and use something else. And it will never happen because Fenway's as much a museum now as it is a ballpark and the tourists want to sing Sweet Caroline. I get it. It's not going to happen. This is a pipe dream. But, I'm all for singing in the middle of the 8th. All for it. But let's only do it when we feel like singing, not when it's 40 degrees in April and the bullpen's getting lit up.
This weather has been atrocious.
The weather is part of it. I was at the game the other night, Monday? A week ago. And it was close late. I think it was 3-2 late. And they just scored a run. And great. Yeah, okay. I'm in the mood to sing. Not when they're getting the doors blown off. That's my take on that.
Yeah, that second end of the doubleheader they've been down since.
They have. No, it wasn't the doubleheader. It was the first game against the Mets.
Yeah. But since they've been skidding, it's mediocre team.
So that's my Boston sports music take. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. I see you guys on the phones. You want to join us? Red Sox are on the table. Patriots are on the table. NBA, NHL playoffs. What song should the Patriots run out to? 617-779-0985. You got about 40 minutes left here. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray. Felger and Maz are just his pregame.
They've been getting wholesale deals for years.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hall.
How critical were those eighth inning walks by Whitlock?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that right now we're not putting a complete game together, right? We didn't do much. We put pressure late in the game, but, as of now, it's not happening to us.
That was Alex Cora after the Red Sox latest close loss. Their 14th one-run loss of the year. To this point, great stat by Mike Monaco, who's also a great play-by-play announcer. But great stat by Mike Monaco on Twitter after the end of that game. 14th one-run loss for the Red Sox. Only other times the Sox have lost that many one-run games through the first 56. 1966, 1930, and 1906.
Generational, as you put it.
And it literally is once in a generation that a team is this bad this early in one-run games. I think it's because they, among many reasons, I don't think you can point to one issue and say this is what's wrong with the Red Sox. You're shortchanging yourself if you do.
Do you think Cora's messaging is falling on deaf ears?
Well, I just think when I watch this team, and I felt this way for a couple weeks now, the thing I keep going back to is there's just not a sense of urgency. They don't look like a team that's underperforming.
Going through the motions.
Right. They look like a team that is happy being 500 because that's what they've been. They've been a 500 team, and this is just, I not to cross sports. I remember a couple years ago, this was 2023 when the Patriots were, last year Mac Jones, and all right, they're going to be bad. They're going to need to draft a quarterback. People are like, yeah, they should lose games. They should try to lose games, and they should try to lose games next year so they get high picks 2 years in a row. You cannot. Felger was big on this at the time. He's been big on this since, and he's so right. This might be my favorite Felger take. You cannot let losing become habitual. You cannot let that thing in the building because once you get that attitude in, it is so hard to get it out. And that doesn't mean there aren't going to be years when you're bad. Like, that happens. That's just sports. It's cyclical. But you don't want to let losing become habitual. You don't want to become complacent. And the Red Sox did that because, the kids are coming and it's fine and don't worry. We're waiting. It's like the South Park episode with George R.R. Martin. It's on the way. They're coming. Pizzas are almost here. But it just feels like it lackadaisical. They feel complacent. There isn't that sense of urgency. And to your point, George, I think at a certain level that starts up top. It starts with the manager and the general manager. It starts with the decision makers. They let that thing in. Now, maybe it grew and festered beyond their control, but they've let that thing in. And we talked to Christopher Smith from Mass Live earlier, and he said it. There's a lack of urgency. There's a lack of urgency with this baseball team, and you can't not point the finger at the manager or the head coach when there's a mentality problem with the team, whatever sport it is. So, yeah, I think some of that's on Alex Cora. Wayne in Maine. Hey, that rhymes. Wayne in Maine wants to talk about Alex Cora.
Yeah. The Alex Cora pretty well gave up. The Alex Cora that started out would have found a way to put Connor Wong and Tori Story on the disabled list and get better players in there by now.
Yeah, thanks.
Sorry, go ahead. A couple of good ones down there.
Yeah, no, they're the lineup. Matt McCarthy and Jimmy Stewart did a good job of talking about this earlier today. The roster could be better than it is. And that doesn't mean they're going to have the best roster in baseball. There are certainly limitations, especially when you factor in the injuries they have. And that's not Alex Cora or Craig Breslow's fault. Like, guys get hurt. That's sports. Can't turn the injury slider off, unfortunately. But they have Roman Anthony in the minors. The best of the big three, the last one who will be up. Which, by the way, that was always going to happen. That was always going to be the case. You just felt it. Masataka Yoshida, now eligible to come off the IL as of today. Can't play the field. He's got a bum shoulder. He couldn't play the field before. He's a designated hitter. Now you have to move Rafael Devers to first to do that. And the Red Sox have kind of put themselves in a position where they really can't ask him to do that. They probably should. Yeah. The right move is probably ask him to play first.
Devers, just in case nobody has told you, it's time to get the glove, unpack it. Let's bring it to the ball field, play the hot corner, play a little bit of first base there for the team's sake. Let's be a team player. We need you.
But you can't poke that. You can't keep poking him because he already handled it so poorly before.
I think he's capable of getting over it. It's a little bit overblown, but now seriously with the injuries, especially the Bregman one, he has to consider that possibility, especially with Yoshida coming off of the schneid. You would think that opens up the DH. In terms of a position for Devers, right? It's a position. Yoshida is gonna. It should be Yoshida's spot. Devers, we'll get back on the field. We'll placate what happens with Bregman when he comes back.
Well, they could also. Because I do think you need to be careful. You can't agitate this guy so much that he asks out. And I don't think that's unrealistic. I do think we're going to see Rafael Devers play the field again at some point for the Boston Red Sox. Maybe, and to the caller's point about, and I couldn't entirely hear, the phone wasn't great, but I heard him mention Trevor Story. Maybe it's Devers at third, Marcelo Maye at short, and Story's out of the lineup. Maybe it's that, the clock is ticking on Trevor Story.
DFA.
Because Marcelo Maye is not going back down. He shouldn't be going back down.
He shouldn't.
So... And Bregman's going to play third. So, some people say Mayer at second, Campbell at first. I really don't want to screw around with the rookies. Let them develop. Player development is so important. Let them develop. Let them play their positions. And I don't mind, the one spot I give them some wiggle room is Mayer at third because he might be a fit long-term at third base, and it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if that's ultimately what ends up happening. But, he's third or short. He should be playing one of those.
Talking about... a call up, right? Hey, we're calling you up. We're going to put you at third base. I know you've had limited reps. We need you.
That one I don't. That's realistic. That's a realistic ask. Asking him to play, if he has to play three positions in the first month he's up, like they're trying to do, or first couple months, like they're trying to do with Campbell, that's a red flag. That's worrying. Let these guys get settled.
Yeah, speaking to that and kind of the versatility and whatever it takes attitude, an anti-Devers stance. Do you think that the prospects have a chance to save Cora's job, barring when Roman Anthony makes the inevitable call-up that we're all clamoring for? Do the prospects have a chance to kind of turn this thing around for the Red Sox, considering how disappointing they've been top to bottom, defensively, bullpen, which we expected, the whole closer by committee thing, and Chapman has been good, but no, Whitlock has been a disaster. McCarthy kind of hit on that. Have him in protecting a deficit and the insurance run in the eighth. In the end, Cora, give it and take it. There was a good yank of Crochet. Whitlock got the one pitch out to cap off the seventh. Left him in a little too long there in the eighth for my liking. And that insurance run obviously cost him. So, yeah, Cora definitely some big question marks. But can the prospects save the job for the old man?
Well, yes, in the sense that they're going to be a better team with those guys in the lineup. And winning is going to save Cora's job. 4 years in a row not making the playoffs is not good for job security. Whatever they got to do to get in. The really interesting thing that Christopher Smith said earlier, and if you missed any of our conversation with him, it was a good one. You can go, the show streams live on the Sports Hub YouTube channel.
That's right.
So
we'll podcast this as well.
It'll be up after the show's done. So if you want to go find it in the podcast, you can go back and find it. What they really should be doing is trading for a right-handed first baseman, which, yeah, they should. When we started talking about that earlier, was you're going to move one of these prospects. And when Campbell made the team, all right, it's probably Mayer. You're not going to trade Roman Anthony. You're not going to trade Marcelo Mayer now. He's up. He's a Red Sox. That's set. So are you moving Jarren Duran? Could you possibly maybe get somebody for Masataka Yoshida? There was some rumblings in the winter that he could be part of a salary dump. You're unfortunately not trading Tristan Casas at this point. If they traded him back in the winter, like they tried to, and it sounds like they might have had some decent deals on the table, none of this would be an issue. But they got to do something. And yeah, we are at the point now where I wonder if they start making moves, not best off of, they've had this long-term plan in mind, and I get that to an extent, and you want them to take a shorter-term approach. If it's simply out of self-preservation, if it's simply out of saving their jobs, I don't care what it takes. Just take that approach. But, once Anthony's up, and they should not trade Roman Anthony. They should not trade Roman Anthony.
Any chance that they're at odds and Breslow's holding out, pulling up Anthony for the sake of maybe I'll be able to axe Cora quicker than possible.
Well, I think it's because of the contract and the money, and Tyler Milliken can give you a much better summary of that than I can. But if with everything comes back to the money, but that's the pipeline. That's it. There are no more trump cards in the deck.
No avenues to
as much as I like the password. Josh Dizin Garcia, whatever it is. Like you don't have that kind of card again in the deck to play that you can really get creative with. So I don't know where that guy's coming from, but they need some help there. All right, let's check the headlines. We'll come back. I want to talk some NBA playoffs, current and past, I should say, NBA playoffs. We'll get to that, but first, check the headlines. It's Alex Barth on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Red Sox dropped their first game of this week's series against the Milwaukee Brewers.
quick, smelly.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
All right, we got about 20 minutes left here. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray on the Sports Hub. Thanks so much, everybody tuned in tonight. Appreciate it. I did see there's a picture going around on Twitter of I assume it's tonight. Somebody tweeted out the picture. I guess it could be from the past, but if it is from tonight, the backup on one of the bridges coming back from the Cape, and it's a long line. So if you're sitting in that and listening, happy to keep you company for the next 20 minutes. You want to call in 617-779-0985 as we enjoy this long weekend. And I should say first, part of this long weekend, obviously, part of this is paying respects to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice in respecting and protecting this country. So obviously, we thank them. And if you're a family member of somebody who's given that sacrifice or a friend you've been through that, we thank you as well.
Big time. Put the flags in the graves, baby.
As we go through this long weekend, though, this has been a notable weekend in Boston sports history, especially in Celtics history. As George Spolman producing tonight, as George pointed out to me in the email before the show. So what do you got for George? How many years ago tonight or today?
Right. If we're doing the math backwards down from 87, nearly 40 years ago, 38 years ago, Game 5, 1987. Of course, we didn't win the championship that year, a little bittersweet, but one of the more clutch plays in NBA history, of course, a man named one Larry Bird.
Now there's a steal by Barth. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. Right up, 1 second left. What a play by Barth. Barth stole the impounding pass. Laid it up to DJ. DJ laid it up and in. And Boston has a 1-point lead with 1 second left. Oh my, this place is going crazy.
My all-time favorite player, all-time favorite Celtic. God bless you, Bill Russell. The clutchest, and to me, probably one of the most clutchest plays that I can remember, particularly on the basketball side of things.
So that got me thinking, not to the day, but I remember where I was with friends for Memorial Day weekend. 2 years ago tomorrow, another clutch, famous layup in Celtics history that doesn't get the recognition it deserves because Jason Tatum got hurt in Game 7, and it cost them, and they probably would have won the finals if they go all the way, and this would have been
history.
Like an iconic moment in Celtics history, and that is the Derek White tip-in, and it was a Game 6, right, against Miami?
Game 6, correct.
The tip-in in Game 6 against Miami.
The moment we'll be replaying over and over and over again. It's in the hands of Derek White. Here we go. Into Smart. Smart turns. Face his three. Rims out. It was tapped up and in, but it didn't come too late. We don't know anything yet. Of course we don't. Of course we get to triple zeros and don't have the answer. The ball was tapped up and in, but was it too late?
Confirmed. Good basket.
It is over, and the Boston Celtics have boldly and impossibly gone where no NBA team has gone before.
And then obviously we know what happens afterwards, and that one hurts. But that was a great moment, man. And that's a great call by Grandy. I remember some people were like, I was expecting more. It was a great moment. But no, Sean Grandy did his job. He didn't know. He told you what he knew. He told you what he saw. What he knew, what he saw was he didn't know. It built up the moment. And that was an awesome job by Sean Grandy. Obviously a great play. Unfortunately, it kind of fades into the background because of what happened in Game 7. The Celtics would have been the first NBA team to come back from down 3-0. Should have never been down 3-0 in that series. But that was a great play. And I'll use that as a segue because we haven't talked much Celtics tonight. We talked NBA playoffs. We haven't talked much Celtics. But that was a great play and kind of an early inkling of what Derek White would be for this team. And I saw this week, and it's NBA Twitter, so these sources all come with varying levels of varying reputations. But
Spanish Twitter's the same for me.
There was some stuff out there that, like Derek White, teams might want him, and there's a difference. Let's be clear. There's a difference in reports between teams are inquiring about player X, and player X's team is inquiring about trading him. Yeah, a smart basketball team probably would call the Celtics and see if Derek White's available. Derek White's a good basketball player. The Celtics are in a phase of transition. They need to shed money. Yeah, if it was the other way around and there was a player like that available and the Celtics were looking for another piece, we'd be annoyed if they didn't call on Derek White, certainly. But the Celtics should hang up the phone. The Celtics should not entertain that call. I want the Celtics to use Jason Tatum's injury as kind of a reset. And I find a lot of similarities between this Jason Tatum injury and Tom Brady's knee injury in 2008. I think that there is a lot of carryover between those two. And you look at what happened in 2008, and yes, the Patriots go back to the Super Bowl in 2011, but that really is the line of demarcation between the first and second dynasties. And what was Tom Brady being a good player, obviously, but Tom Brady being a guy who was, able to take advantage of and was in a good situation on this veteran roster and elevate it to he comes back from that knee injury and really comes back from it in 2010, 2011. And they used that period as a youth movement. Again, the defense was still kind of old in 2011, but they used those few years that Brady was out and was playing but recovering as a reset, and it went from Tom Brady being the young guy leading this veteran team to it truly being the Tom Brady show. You look at some of the drafts they had in there coming out of Brady's knee injury. They get Gerard Mayo and Matthew Slater in 2008, Patrick Chung, Julian Edelman in 2009, the legendary 2010 draft, Devin McCourty, Rob Gronkowski, Brandon Spikes, Aaron Hernandez. Even in 2011, Nate Solder, Shane Vereen, Marcus Cannon. 2012, Chandler Jones, Dante Hightower. 2013, they go out to get Logan Ryan, Deron Harmon, Jamie Collins. They built that thing back up. That's what I want to see the Celtics do around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown right now. Kristaps Porzingis can go. They need to shed salary. He can't stay healthy. He's getting on the older side. That's a guy you move to get younger. Drew Holiday, great player, great leader, great person. That's a spot where you can absolutely get younger. There's really only 3 guys I'm not moving. Tatum and Brown are the obvious ones. I'm putting Derek White on that list. Anybody else can move because when Tatum truly comes back from this, and I don't mean his first game back because it's going to be a year that's about a feeling out process, and he'll still be good and they'll still be competing, but there'll be a bit of a buffer there. When Tatum is truly full go again, which should be October, 2027, right? So he'll come back, he'll come back October 25 to 20, so October 26. When Tatum is a full...
Yeah, I said 27, but 26 of next year.
Yes. Or no, I missed it. You're right. So he'll be out the 25-26 season or most of it.
Right.
26-27 is a feeling out process.
But October-ish of 26.
October 27, when Tatum is 2 years removed from this injury and ready to go, I want him to be at the front leading a young group around him. And maybe it's some guys that are on the team. I like J.D. Davison. I think J.D. Davison's an underrated player. Underrated. He won the G League MVP, but that's a nice find. Baylor Shireman's a nice little find. But I want to see Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown leading a young team on the other side of this injury. I'm ready to move on from the core. That doesn't mean they need to bottom out.
I'm moving on from Hauser, too. He was a big disappointment.
I'd move on from... I'm fine. If somebody's going to give me what he's worth, I'll move on from Hauser. I don't need them to bottom out. Now, if Jaylen Brown's going to miss time because of his knee, they might. But if Jaylen Brown's there, they're not going to bottom out. The East is terrible. They'll be a playoff team. But
attaching draft picks to get rid of Porzingis and Holiday to get creative?
Maybe.
So.
Or, you just send him to a team that needs to hit that salary floor. And,
right. Get the expiring contracts, ideally.
Right. So, but I want to see this be the reset that the Patriots had in the early 2010s. And then we
love
get
that comparison, by the way.
We get the second chapter of Tatum and Brown. All right, we're going to grab a couple calls here real quick. We've been talking about everything tonight. We got a couple Patriots calls on the line. Michael in Cambridge has a draft take. Michael, what do you got?
Since you're the most knowledgeable football man, do you think they took the best player available? I mean, shouldn't they have taken Ashton Genty and then traded up for Josh Simmons? I mean, they're going to regret that for many years to come.
So a couple things that, Michael, thanks for the call. They should not have traded up for Josh Simmons. Josh Simmons had a bad knee. He tore his kneecap. Like, it is a really bad injury. Banking on that guy is more risky than Will Campbell in his arms. Like, they need, if you want to say it wasn't Campbell, fine. The answer was not Josh Simmons. They're trading up for somebody who was Josh Connerly. Did they take the best player available? If we're doing Madden ratings out of 100, no, that was Ashton Genty. But best player available is a fallacy. Because all right, so we're just doing it again. Best player out of 100? Well, a lot of teams passed on good kickers, punters, and running backs. They have for years. Torrey Taylor was a top 10 player in the draft last year. Oh, but those positions aren't valuable. Okay, so now we're putting qualifiers on it. So it's not really the best player available. It's the best player available for the football team. By the way, you can go to the other extreme, and that's how you get Cole Strange. But they took who I believe was the best player available at a premium position that was a position they needed.
And I'm a Will Campbell fan now, too.
I think they took the best player for them. If they had a great line and they had receivers, yeah, they could have taken Genty. There is a unit. If they had signed Ronnie Stanley and they traded for DK Metcalf, then yeah, Ashton Genty would have been a better pick. But you can't, it's not as simple as who's going to have the highest Madden rating. It's not
fight and die to protect them with everything I got.
It's not as simple as on a scale of 1 to 10. It's not. So, and I don't think they're going to regret not trading up for Josh Simmons because his knee worries me. His knee scares me. Is there a way they could have maybe traded up for a different tackle? Yeah, there was ways they could have made that work.
The right tackles, too.
The Josh Simmons stuff, let somebody else deal with Josh Simmons' knee injury. That always scared me. I was not in on them. Not in the first round. If he really fell, maybe. I was never in on them for Josh Simmons. Sean and Franklin is Pat's thought. Couple Pat's thoughts.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Hey.
I just want to say shipping off to Boston should be a good song for the Pats, but Travion Henderson from the last guy was might be actually playing better than it's going to be Javon Gentry. I think the Patriots did a great job with the draft, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, Sean. You too. Hope you have a good week. Genty's unbelievable. Genty's a rare talent, and I don't know that Henderson's better than him, but it's funny how many people really wanted Ashton Genty and then freaked out because they took a running back too high when they took Henderson. No, but Genty's special. You don't understand. Like, no, you want a running back high, you got a running back high. Henderson, to me, was third best back in the draft. He was like a fringy first-round pick guy, and he wasn't going to be this year because it was such a stacked class. I had Henderson to have him third or fourth.
Does Henderson overtake Stevenson as the starting back?
Not this year, no. And I don't think they're going to have a true, like McDaniels never really has a bell cow back. Starting in Josh McDaniels' offense is kind of arbitrary. What package is out there on the field? Stevenson's going to play more snaps early on, but it'll be close. I think it might be like a 60-40, 55-45 split. All right, we got to hit this break. We'll come back. One more segment of Alex Barth in for Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
Don't go. Zolak and Bertrand get you through the midday. Joe Murray gets you right through the night.
I actually spoke with women today.
And it looks like you're going to make it home in time for the end of these playoff games. The hockey game's flying. They're already done with the second period. Halftime of the basketball game, Thunder lead 65-57. It might be another unentertaining basketball. It might be close, but it might be another brand of basketball game.
Barring any of that Cape Cod traffic making its way to the hub.
Oh,
here.
please no. Please no.
Oh my goodness, that would infuriate me beyond belief. Safe travels for everybody who's still out there.
Yes.
We go back to regular business starting tomorrow. It's been a pleasure. And anybody who's been out there, putting up with the weather, we see you barbecuing and doing all the good stuff. Happy Memorial Day weekend for all you guys and the listeners.
I apologize to be leaving you if you're stuck in that Cape traffic. If you want to go back, if you missed the beginning of the show, you weren't in the car yet, you can find it podcasted, The Joe Murray Show, or on the Sports Hub YouTube page. You can also find the Patriots Hub podcast there, which I do with Matt Dolph, so you can check that out. We'll have a new one this week, Wednesday. Patriots will have their next OTA. That will be my next big thing. You can also check out written content, as always, on 98.5thesportshub.com. Joe's back tomorrow, right? It's full.
Yes.
Full lineup tomorrow across the station. Everybody got this extra day, but we are back. Red Sox are talkable right now. I expect lots of Red Sox talk, and then plenty of Patriot stuff coming on Wednesday. So for George Spolvita, thank you to Christopher Smith of Mass Live for joining us, Evan Lazar of Patriots.com for joining us. I'm Alex Barth. Again, I hope everybody had a great weekend. I hope everybody enjoys the week ahead, and I will talk to you all at some point later this week. Have a good night, everybody.
From the Tell Your Type Studios, WBZ-FM and HD1.
It's not just the games. It's Toucher and Hardy, Zolak and Bertrand, Felger and Maz.